Association of Ghana discusses ways to sustain funding of Christian health services. Survivors of recent boat disaster on the Volta Lake yet to receive compensation from government. Hello, good evening. This is News Hour live on GBC24, your own news channel, and GTV. My name is Micheline Taka. Good evening. I am Seyoko Kwakutre, and you're welcome to the news. The Christian Health Association of Ghana has met in Kumasi to deliberate on challenges of financial sustainability of member hospitals and training institutions. This is to enable the association to explore innovative ways to provide funding and also fulfill its mandate of developing and consolidating sustainable quality Christian health services.
The Christian Health Association of Ghana, which is the second largest health service provider in the country, has depended mostly on external sources for funding as well as its internally generated funds. The association is currently experiencing financial challenges due to the withdrawal of funding from its major partners. These and other developments prompted the Christian Health Association of Ghana to meet to deliberate on the way forward. Representatives from the 201 hospitals and training institutions from 25 church denominations under the association attended the conference. The Ashanti Regional Minister, Mr. John Alexander Akon, shared some thoughts on the theme for the conference.
A plan for financial sustainability is not just about getting money for the association. It also involves areas the association's expenditure need to be incurred, investment in idle funds, and systems of financial management put in place for the organization. These and many more are some of the things you can do differently to help sustain the organization if your traditional source of funding are not flowing as expected.
The Deputy Minister for Health, Dr. Victor Bampos, stressed that the National Health Insurance Scheme is capable of working successfully.
If you go to the Ministry of Finance, I was pleasantly surprised to know that in fact, not only are they up to speed with the payments as has been designed by the system, but sometimes they go over and above to pay in advance. So then why are we in this situation? Because we've designed a system that has become a victim of its own success.
A former General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Dr. Fred Deby, outlined some areas that need to be considered in terms of financial sustainability.
Your strategic plan keeps you on course. It helps you, but your financial planning, sustainability plan, shows you whether you can actually sustain the thing that you want to do.
The Paramount Chief of Kumewu, Burma Safo Chinebua Kodia, who represented the Asantehene, commended the association for its achievements in the health sector.
Survivors of the recent boat disaster on the Volta Lake say they have not received any form of compensation from the government. They explained that the disaster has cost them their capital and livelihoods. They spoke to GBC24's Michael Tuvlo, who he visited communities along River Dakar in the Karachi in Chumuru district of the Volta region.
Survivors of the recent boat disaster are back home empty-handed, with nothing to eat while counting their losses. Their families were, however, excited to see their loved ones back home alive. Some narrated their experiences, how they managed to survive, and their current situation.
We were in the middle of the lake when all of a sudden the boat burst and we were all drowning. We had nobody to help us, so we were just struggling on our own. Those of us who know how to swim a little managed to escape death, but others died.
Ganyaji Ahovi is a family head at Kaprai.
I had 3 relatives from my house on board the boat. 2 died and 1 survived. We lost all our belongings and even had no food to eat. The boat overloaded because there were 3 boats operating here, but 2 were banned.
Alexa J. Biney said he and his mother, the wife, and their 2 sons were all involved in the accident.
What will I do when the incident has happened? My mother is inside the boat, my wife too is inside the boat, and my children are also inside the boat. So I don't know what I should do. Then the woman, each and everyone are trying to hold me, then I try to see. I put some on what you call basket, some on rubber, and some I put them on what you call sack. A sack that was contain some kind of cassava dough inside. Then I put them inside. Then I went to where my mother is. Going to try what I will get my children. Oh, I didn't get any of them.
This is the alternative boat the victims are referring to. According to them, though it could have been used on that fateful day, it had been banned from operating, and therefore the boat which was involved in the accident had to carry the excess load. But the chief of Grubi, Nana Dankafuji, who is the overlord of the Kaprai area, said he did not ban the new boats from operation. Rather, he invited the owner to come and see him, but he refused.
6 months me friend kwa wamba. Am say so ma dia and then just on page man ye no. Enti we no titi na kasa on na ho eye ni nsunu a olodu tambia so nyon nkom ye botu miensa. And na no nso akiri kwa anya se botu no e lodu no abroso and na ono kwa lodu overload accident na accident me see at any time. So we can say ebi amina ma pam na nya no kware.
NADMO officials in Karachi in Chumuru district said they are yet to ascertain the kind of support to give to the victims since they are confronted with logistical challenges. Solomon Kuyon is the district chief executive of Karachi in Chumuru.
The total number, as I said, was 94, and then we lost 19 and we had 75 survived.
Now, our living condition for us is very difficult.
It's a planned thing, you know. I cannot come out now to tell you that we are going to get A, B, C, D, B or C for a particular community. When the team, as I said, will come out with a decision, we'll definitely go back to meet them and support them.
For now, relatives and survivors of the Volta Lake boat disaster are appealing to the government and benevolent organizations to come to their aid.
A Mercedes-Benz carrying passengers caught fire at the Saka Shell filling station in Tamale this morning. No casualties were reported. The rainy season has exposed the effect of poor planning and negative attitude of people towards the environment. Choked drains, abandoned road projects, and buildings on waterways at flood-prone areas have all contributed to the perennial flooding in parts of the capital. GBC24 takes a look at the situation.
Our attitude is punishing us to death.
This was a retired employee of the New Times Corporation, Mr. John Addison Ayeje, expressing his frustration about the situation. His building at Anya East is submerged whenever it rains. Although the flood waters have receded after yesterday's downpour, he was seen digging a trench to ease the flow of water after subsequent rains. While authorities attribute the flooding problem to the irresponsible attitude of the people equally point to the failure on the part of government. The flood-prone areas of Anya, Santa Maria, Sowutum, Kwashibu, and Awoshi are inundated whenever it rains, but new buildings are springing up in these areas despite the low-lying nature of the place. Anger, frustration, despair and the fear of the unknown were visible on the faces of the residents who blame others for being unlawful by building anywhere, while the country's laws are also not being effectively enforced.
This year, there is more mattress, it's more rubber bowl, it's more samla, it's more, it's more gutter, nearby the can go ne, go cashier on your walk, or bad motion. It's any one in the mommy, be an flirting canto, fair mommy, or honey, a wine.
From the predictions of the Ghana Meteorological Agency, the rains will continue for a while longer, and this calls for caution.
The Accra Compost and Recycling Plant Limited, ACAP, and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, have signed a memorandum of understanding for the benefit of the two entities and the nation at large. Under the agreement, ACAP will serve as a research center for students of KNUST in areas of compost research and waste management.
The Pro-Vice Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, Professor Samoni Udai, signed for the university, whilst the Managing Director of the Accra Composite and Recycling Plant, ACAP, Dr. Richard Amponsa, initialed for the company. The signing of the MOU is informed by a strategic objective to make ACAP a research center and deepen the company's relationship with key stakeholders, especially educational and research institutions. Following the agreement, students of KNUST will be exposed to practical and field training, which will prepare them better for the world of work. The agreement will also enhance joint supervision of postgraduate work.
We thought that we could collaborate with KNUST to have their students in here to go through these areas. 1, project research. 2, internship. And 3, things like doing demonstration farms and any other relevant areas that will suit both parties.
Despite the strides made to improve upon Ghana's electoral process, the issue of rejected ballots continued to pose a setback for the nation. In 2008, the rejected ballot placed third ahead of the then Convention People's Party CPP's candidate, Dr. Papakwesi Indum. This means that rejected ballots can affect the electoral fortunes of a political party and also disenfranchise some voters. Experts say the outcome shows that Ghanaian voters are yet to understand fully their responsibilities at the polling stations.
Political parties in the country are gearing up for the general elections, which is slated for November 7, all things being equal. The security agencies and other governance institutions are also getting their acts together to ensure a successful election. The country is also on the radar of international community, which is awaiting the outcome and whether Ghana will pass the test as a beacon of democracy. However, one blot in Ghana's electoral process is the issue of rejected ballots. Ghana has held 5 successful general elections since 1992, with a significant number of rejected ballots.
The main causes of rejected ballot, from my perspective as a research officer, is an issue with education. In our situation in Ghana, looking at what is happening, that people tend to equate development with voting. That if we don't have water, if we don't have electricity, if we don't have good culverts or gutters in our areas, and roads, we're not going to vote. People can also vote by protest voting. Okay? They can just go there and waste the votes, saying that, oh, among the candidates that have been nominated on the ballot paper, okay, I don't like any of them. None of them can help me. And therefore, they will cast what we call a protest vote by wasting the ballot.
According to the Electoral Commission of Ghana, a rejected ballot is a ballot that failed to meet the requirements. A ballot is rejected if the ballot paper is blank, does not have an official mark, the voter thumbprints more than once on the ballot, or the voter mistakenly made writings or indelible marks on the ballots. Again, if it is not clear as to which candidate a voter intended to vote for, the ballot is categorically rejected. Statistics from the Electoral Commission (EC) reveals that cases of rejected ballots are soaring with each election since Ghana embarked on the Fourth Republic in 1992. For instance, in 2000, a total of 104,214 votes, representing 1.53%, were rejected. In 2004, the rejected ballot stood at 188,123 votes, being 2.13%, while during the first round of presidential elections in 2008, a total of 8,671,272 ballots cast, with 205,438 votes rejected, representing 2.4%. For the 2012 general elections, the number of rejected ballots stood at 251,720, representing 2.3%. The 2012 figure was higher than the total votes of all the other presidential candidates, excluding the NDC and NPP candidates, whereas in 2008, the rejected ballot placed third in the presidential race ahead of Dr. Pakwesi Indum, the then presidential candidate of the Convention People's Party, CPP.
For me, I'm seeing a decreasing trend because if you have 2.4% in 2008 and 2.2 in 2012, obviously. But in terms of quantum, looking at the votes, okay, 2.2 of, let's say, 14 million is not the same as 2.4 of 12. So, though in terms of, I speaking as a researcher in terms of analysis of statistics, well, there's a fall in the trend in terms of percentages, but in terms of absolute figures, so we have to look at it and find a way. And I believe in 2016, obviously, rejected ballot must fall.
The Electoral Commission is tight-lipped about the cost implications to the nation, but it is said to run into millions of Ghana cedis. A principal electoral officer at the Electoral Commission, Mr. Fred Tete, says education is a collective responsibility and the electorates must also take the elections serious.
Apart from that, the Commission has also tried, I think in 2004, we redesigned the ballot papers. And like you can see the markings, how the ballot paper has been redesigned, but the barriers in between candidates is so thick that hardly should you expect someone to vote in this way. Okay. If the person is voting in this way, I believe the person has an intention. Okay. Apart from that, there are some people that when I was talking about the rejected, some people also go in there and sign their signature or write their name. Tell the person that, oh, okay, thinking that the candidate will see that he or she, Ama or Kwesi, voted for him at the poll. Such a ballot paper also can be rejected. I believe the CDD, the IDEC, the IEA, those governance institutions, I think we should put our heads together as to how we can expand our outreach activities and voter education activities. Together with the NCC, we should do in-depth kind of voter education in specifically constituencies where they return with this higher rejected ballots, especially the typical rural constituencies.
In place of the current system, the experts suggest electronic voting as a better alternative. Ghana is halfway through the process of introducing the e-voting process because the voters' register can be verified biometrically. With this, there will be no rejected ballot or paper.
The moment you go biometric, you are halfway through the process. towards electronic voting. Okay. What is needed now is to complement it with e-voting, right? But I think looking at the trust that we don't have among ourselves, okay, e-voting will be a long way for now. We need a lot of education. The temporal officers to operate this. Okay. The Ghanaians have trust. Even among the political parties, their own agent that will be behind the machines. Even the manual one. Do they trust their own agents?
Another issue worth looking at is spoiled ballots. The EC says the number of spoiled ballot or papers recorded over time is low. A ballot paper is defined as spoiled when the ballot paper issued to a voter is tainted or defective. This can either be a torn ballot paper issued by an EC official or when a voter returns a ballot paper for making a wrong choice and this is replaced. A spoiled ballot or paper is a pre-marked paper. Whereas all rejected ballots are counted as part of the total ballot, a spoiled ballot is not, but accounts for ballots for a particular constituency and thereby returned to the EC for documenting purposes. For now, the upcoming November polls will test the proficiency of the Ghanaian electorate about elections.
The Bishop of Bebrati from the Central African Republic, Most Reverend Dennis Kofi Agbenyadi, has encouraged Christians to propagate the gospel and remain dedicated to the service of God. He was speaking at an ordination ceremony held at the Queen of Peace Catholic Church in Accra.
The Society of African Mission, SMA, is a missionary institution of apostolic life founded on the 8th of December 1856. As a missionary congregation, its objectives include assisting the poor and deprived in society and establishing churches in areas not yet evangelized, as well as training local clergy. The Bishop of Beberati, Central African Republic, Most Reverend Father Dennis Kofi Agbenyadi, charged the newly ordained priest to be committed towards winning more souls for Christ.
Dear Mark, Divine, and Francis, nourish yourselves with the Word of God and continue to dream from our own worlds, from our own SMA experience and rich missionary heritage, so that in the exercise of your priestly ministry, wherever you will be sent, conscious of your human and spiritual dignity, you will not only see yourselves as individuals, but also as members of a great and international family.
The SMA Ghana region has about 21 priests. 17 of them are on missions outside the country.
You're welcome to the business segment of the news. The European Union ambassador to Ghana says until products from Ghana meet the quality and safety standards, the EU will not lift the ban imposed on 5 vegetables from the country into the European market. William Hanna says talks are still ongoing to find ways of assisting Ghanaian farmers to adopt international best practices.
The European Union has imposed a temporary ban on exports of vegetables from Ghana. The ban was imposed after the EU authorities discovered that some vegetables from Ghana did not meet the standard. The products include capsicum, aubergines, momodika, lufa, and lagenaria. According to the EU authorities, the products had phytosanitary problems. This is not the first time Ghanaian farmers and exporters have had to face this setback. An official of the United Kingdom High Commission in Ghana, Ms. Tanya Williams, said the UK sees Ghana as a strategic trading partner, but failure to meet the required standards can impede exports to the UK.
The UK is also an important export market for Ghana. Over the past decade, the UK has ranked among the top 10 export destinations for Ghanaian goods. Latest figures show that in 2012, the UK imported almost $400 million US dollars worth of goods from Ghana. Now, most Ghanaian exports to the UK are agricultural and fisheries products, such as cocoa, fish, fruit and vegetables. Ghanaian exports therefore contribute to the UK's thriving food and drink sector, which is the largest manufacturing sector in the UK, with an annual turnover of £76 billion.
The EU ambassador to Ghana, William Hanna, told GBC24 that plans are underway to improve the capacity of the farmers to enable them to meet the required quality and safety standards.
We are working together with the producers, with the farmers, with their associations, and this track project is today working with them to ensure that they can improve the quality so that they can meet the standards so that we can lift the ban. So that's what we're trying to do. We find it we don't want a ban, we want to be able to import these products from Ghana. There's a big market for them, chilies and gourds and so on. There's a growing market in many parts of Europe, and that will create new jobs and new export opportunities for the future.
Ghana's non-traditional export is expected to reach 5 billion by 2019, but players say if the ban on vegetables is not reversed, it will affect the target.
Ghana will soon have a dairy technology center. The University of Ghana is spearheading the establishment of the product to be located at its offshoot campus at Adjringano. The purpose of the facility is to prepare the grounds for the takeoff of a vibrant dairy industry in Ghana. GBC24 reporter Clara Mlano has been looking at the prospect of the industry and the benefits to be derived for Ghana.
A cursory look at most of the shelves in supermarkets, provision stores, markets and even restaurants depict a country with a huge demand for dairy products. Talk of powdered milk, yogurt, butter, pizza, cheese, baby formula and ice cream among others. However, over 95% of these are imported. Despite the increasing demand for milk and dairy products in Ghana, local production is very low, and the only way out to meet the deficit is by importation. Ghana bought into the idea of fresh milk or dairy production during the Nkrumah regime with the establishment of the Amrahia farms in the Greater Accra region. But that purpose is yet to be fully realized. For years, traditional systems and farmers, pastoralists or Fulani herds have dominated milk production in Africa and still supply considerable amounts to homes and industries. Milk extracted from a local breed cow is woefully inadequate to feed homes and let alone industries which require hundreds of millions of liters in Ghana.
People have argued that Ghanaians don't drink milk. This argument is seriously flawed because although we don't drink fresh milk, we have an increasing population that have been elsewhere and have been exposed to fresh milk and are demanding fresh milk and are not getting.
This is 2013 report. We import over $100 million worth of dairy or milk powder into the country every year. That is a huge amount of money. And we only produce about 36,000 tons. We consume over 100,000 tons. And this is just on the formal market where it's used up by the large companies like your Fan Milk and your Nestle's.
Beside the small dairy farming households in Ghana, some actors like Haifa International have managed to sustain the interests of some farmers in the dairy business, whilst industries in Ghana are making use of the imported pasteurized milk for their production. Some small-scale farmers and processors rely on the fresh milk for processing.
One cow gave me a minimum of 40 cedis. I milk 2 times a day.
It's a very lucrative business, and I think it should be a good source of employment for the youth. It's not only of employment, but it's also a good source of nutrition.
First, the organization distributed imported cows called the Jersey to some poor homes as a means of checking malnutrition and fighting hunger. The success of this saw the expansion of the project later to include groups and associations where a system called the Gift is being practiced. Members are mandated to pass on a Jersey calf to another for start of their farms.
efforts had been made by various actors to do dairy programs in Ghana, and most of them did not succeed. And so why will we succeed, given the fact that the examples that we have had were not good stories to write home about? So nevertheless, we decided to give it a shot.
Madame Faustina Akpo have also been contracted by a local factory to supply fresh milk in the coming years for cheese production in Ghana. Being an agric expert, Mrs. Akpo has added value to the fresh milk by using CRI potatoes and other ingredients to produce her yogurt.
So we are now doing the education. We have created a lot of awareness that the industry, there is profit in it, and even the nutrition aspect is also there, taking milk.
Realizing the huge potential and prospects in the sector, the College of Basic and Applied Sciences of the University of Ghana is to establish the first dairy technology center in Ghana. In some African countries, milk serves as a product of harmony, and it is offered to relatives, friends, and visitors for free. Others have also developed strong policies to back the sector.
Because if we continue to import the finished product, there is no room for developing the product here ourselves.
It is quite a capital-intensive industry. If the government could assist in providing the capital, and given the high demand for milk that we have in this country, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs would have gone in for it. But again, it's also very important to also notice that probably the awareness is not high enough.
A Food and Agriculture Organization report shows that the world cow's milk production stood at 636 million tons, with India and the USA being the largest milk producers. Analysts argue that despite the low trends in Ghana, the demand for milk and milk products in the country exceeded that of local production, leaving a huge deficit that had to be met. And that can be derived locally if the right mechanisms are put in place to create a favorable environment for people in the supply chain. An increase in the production of milk will not only ease pressure on the local currency, which needs to be changed into dollars to facilitate milk importation, but also create jobs for the youth. Health experts say fresh milk is crucial in the fight against malnutrition among children. They are therefore calling on the government to take a cue from Kenya and South Africa to ensure that Ghana takes advantage of the huge demand out there for organic milk.
Good evening and welcome to my journey on GBC24 and on GTV. My name is Beatrice Senaju. Imagine living in a community without electricity for years, no motorable roads and hospital for the sick. This is the story of Kewuno, a fishing community in Ada. The story behind the community makes living in the city too cool. On my journey today, I will take you on a walk through Kewuno. This is Kewuno, a fishing community in Ada. Kewu means sand or a settlement on sand. Due to the sand, walking around presents a challenge, especially to the visitor. I have reported on deprived communities, but I was amazed at the story behind Kewuno. The journey from Big Ada to Kewuno is about an hour by road. It has a population of over 500 and is surrounded by the sea and a river. The road from Ada Fort to Azizanya, another fishing community, is not motorable, so a traveler is faced with two choices: either travel by canoe or journey on foot. The team chose the latter. The reason: no life jackets available. Halfway through the journey, the team had to use a bridge across the Volta River, but the only bridge leading to the community had collapsed. This means I had no other option than to travel by canoe to Kewuno. Sitting on the hardboard serving as seats in the canoe, I started praying for my safety as no member of the team had a life jacket on. I kept on wondering how the people of Kewuno have been able to cope with this situation for decades. Walking to Kewuno, I observed that sanitation was not the best from Azizanya to Kewuno. Heaps of refuse were spotted at vantage points in the community. Most of the houses here have palm fronds serving as fence walls. I was told the land occupied by inhabitants was given to the people of Kewuno by the people of Adan. Hence, building permanent structures is not advisable. Mr. Stephen Jinado has lived in Kewuno for the past 50 years.
The water bill is high, and this has led to the increase in the price of a bucket of water. So we have no option than to fetch water from the river.
Kewuno lacks basic amenities like hospitals, accessible roads, places of convenience and portable water. The only tap in the community works only when there is power at Azizanya. I was told a bucket of water sells for 30 pesos and bigger bucket sells between 60 to 80 pesos. In terms of education, there is only one school, Maranatha Community Basic School, which was until recently up to the primary level but is now up to JHS 3. Some of the classes take place under trees, and the school's first batch of only 5 students will be writing the BECE this year. The school has neither a library nor playground. The children play on the small park on the school's premises. Sandra Sokpo complained about inadequate teachers.
We have so many problems in the town. The first one is the bridge. We are in between 2 rivers, so it's like we need a bridge to cross before coming to the town. And secondly, we need a computer lab for the students. We need a pipe, and then we the youth in the community, we are lack of job. There is no job in the town.
Kewuno has had no electricity, but I was told few houses now have electricity. I chanced upon these children learning in the dark. One of them will be writing the BECE.
I want them to bring lights to the community so that it can help us to learn our books. Now that we are in the final years, we don't have any light to study. We are just using the old lanterns, which sometimes also our books also burns.
I want them to give us light for our studies so that we may be able to concentrate on our learning to pass our exam.
The main occupation of the people is fishing, but lately the fishermen complain of low catch. They say some foreigners use light in fishing, and that poses a challenge.
We cannot preserve the fish we catch from the sea because of the absence of power. For now, we only smoke the fish for sale.
The use of electricity in fishing poses a problem to us because our husbands go a fishing and return with empty nets.
On my way back to Begada, I started reflecting on the challenges faced by people living in places such as Kewuno, and that for me explains the attraction of the bright lights in the big cities. Hopefully, stories like this will get the authorities concerned to fix the problems in such communities. Beatrice Senaju, GBC24, Kewuno. There is an adage that life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. Such is the case of Kiwuno. As journalists, we will always do our best to bring stories of this nature into the spotlight. I leave it to your judgment. And this is where we draw the curtains on my journey today. Join us same time next week. Enjoy the rest of the news.
Let's now talk some sports. The Black Stars beat the World 11 side by 4 goals to 2 at the Accra Sports Stadium. The game was part of activities lined up by ex-Black Stars captain Stephen Appiah to drum home the message of peace before, during and after the November elections.
Ex-Black Stars captain Stephen Appiah led a galaxy of stars to play the senior national male football team, the Black Stars. The encounter was his way of raising awareness on the need for Ghanaians to maintain peace before, during and after the upcoming general elections. After a goalless first half, the Stars took the lead through Ebenezer Asifwa. Frankie Champon from the left laid a through ball and Asifwa damaged the goalkeeper to make it 2-0. Sule Muntari reduced the deficit before Nigerian Yakubu Igbeni made it 2-2.
By Michael Essien, and now it is Yakubu Igbeni. Muntari just racing down the left-hand side. Igbeni scores!
With the game looking likely to end in a draw, the Stars lifted up their game and scored 2 additional goals. Atletico Madrid's midfielder Thomas Partey, who came on, was left unmarked and tapped in for the Stars' 3rd goal. Sassuolo's versatile defender Alfred Duncan, with a powerful run from the midfield, shot through the legs of the un-Russian goalkeeper to score the Stars' 4th and final goal. The World 11 on Wednesday lost by 4 goals to 1 to Kotoko in Kumasi.
The president of the Ghana Golf Association, GGA, Mike Agri, has predicted an exciting 6 months of golfing on the local scene. Mr. Agri described competitions in the first half of the year as wonderful and expressed optimism about the changes of Team Ghana for the upcoming International Amateur Championship set for Mexico.
Ghana is set to participate in the 2016 World Amateur Golf Team Championship in Mexico. The championship will take place between September 21 and 24 at El Camelo Golf Course in Cancun. In an interaction with the president of the Ghana Golf Association, Mr. Mike Agri, on events and Ghana's preparations, Mr. Agri expressed optimism about Team Ghana's chances.
We're going to the World Amateur Tournament in Mexico, and we have a world-class player in our team. Plays currently 600 out of 30 million amateurs. So altogether, I'm happy with what is happening. We haven't chosen a team. What we have is a core group of 8 people who excelled during the course of last year. And out of those 8 people, we shall choose 3. But I can tell you who they are. Maxwell Bonsu, Daniel Intim, Nafui, we have Yao Dogbe, we have Samson Asogba, we have Daniel List. That is the core group that we're working with.
Mr. Agri described the first 6 months of the year as eventful.
I've had a roller coaster 5 months in which we've had various events. We've just completed the Junior Open. It unearthed fantastic talent, and we've managed to choose our representatives to the Junior Golf Championship in the Kilmarnock. We've also managed to play the Asante Hene Gold Cup that produced a lot of surprises. The young man Samir Haj, who won it, has been threatening for quite a while, but he was not one of the favorites, but he won it.
On expectations for the next 6 months, this is what Mr. Agri had to say.
We're expecting more excitement. I'm playing the Ghana Masters in August. We're playing the Ghana Open in September. We're participating in the Junior Championship in July. We're going to the Open. We shall also be in Mexico for the Amateur Championship. And the Seniors is coming on in November. And then finally, we're going to crown it off with the Ghana Golf Awards in December. So we have a hectic year ahead.
The president of the Golf Association pledged to organize more training sessions for journalists in their bid to popularize the sport among Ghanaians by enabling them to produce accurate and interesting reports.
The Assemblies of God Church Fountain Glory at the Spintex Road has joined the call for peaceful elections. The church made the call during its health walk.
Assemblies of God Church Fountain Glory at Spintex Road has held its first health walk. It was, among others, to evangelize, socialize, and burn out calories accumulated in members. The walk, which started from the church premises, had members go through the Coca-Cola runabout, through the Accra Mall area, then to the airport's runabout, and back to the church premises. The walk attracted more members of the youth wing and the women's fellowship. After the 2-hour walk, members were taken through some aerobic session. The Greater Accra Regional Superintendent of the Assemblies of God Church, Reverend Dr. Joseph K.K. Basie, touched on the need for peaceful elections.
Our lifestyle as Pentecostals has become just a triangular norm. Work, church, home. Work, church, home. There's no recreation attached to all these things that we do. At least we believe that once a while we should fulfill scripture. Apostle Paul told Timothy that there's a bodily exercise that profited a little. So we decided to inculcate it into the church activities so that at least members will have some kind of recreation within the confines of our own Christian walks in life.
The youth pastor of the church, Pastor Hans Menz, was happy at the turn of events.
It has been very encouraging, and looking at the number, you can see that most of them are the youth, and to me, it's a great plus.
The youth president of the church, Patrick Utukno, said the event has come to stay.
The youth, we are pleading with you. Please don't be part of any violence. Don't be used as instruments of distraction. Eschew any form of distraction, and Ghana will be a better place for us. So,
And after break, do stay with us.
Somber mode entertainment time now. Is the remains of the veteran comedian Samuel Kojo-Boabin, popularly known as Bishop Bob Okala, has been laid to rest. President John Mahama joined hundreds of mourners and sympathizers at a funeral service held at the Arts Center in Accra. Bishop Bob Okala was described as a man whose high values were evident in his comedy.
The late Samuel Kojo-Boabin, known in showbiz as Bishop Bob Okala, was born in Achimba-Tebi near Achimodan in the eastern region. Bishop Bob Okala became popular in the 90s when Key Soap concert parties started showing on Ghana television. Bob Okala, who was identified with a big clock on his wrist when he's performing, was a delight to watch. The year's comedian died on the 12th of March this year after he collapsed on stage during a program organized by Joy Herbal Industries at the Kofodia Jackson's Park. At the Arts Center, President John Mahama joined hundreds of mourners, mostly from the entertainment industry, to bid the late comedian farewell. The Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Mrs. Elizabeth Ofosu-Ejari, said the late comedian has made a remarkable impact on the lives of many.
They say money can't buy happiness. Bishop Bob Okala, in his prime, served us with copious doses of happiness through comedy free of charge. No amount of money could have paid us for the joy you brought to us. Your era saw the rejuvenation of the entertainment industry, the Key Soap concert party, in particular, in which you were a pioneer, was one show that united all Ghanaians of all walks of life under the glare of TV screens.
Bishop Bob Okala brought laughter to many whenever he was on stage. Some of his colleagues in the industry shared some thoughts about him.
You cannot put anybody just on stage. It's the artist who can do that. And as spearheads of our culture and our heritage, we are all icons. But we have icons that are exceptional. And Okala is one of them.
Bob Okala was the first comedian who used watch or wall clock as his watch. and also wore spectacles that tells you, look, he was also a comedian who could compose and remix every song from dancehall to reggae into gospel and anything. So I think that we have to learn from his creativity and be more creative.
Bishop Babokala, 59, left behind a wife and 4 children. His remains have been interred at his hometown at Chimbatebi in the eastern region.
That wraps the news for now. But before we go, a look once again at the headlines. The Christian Health Association of Ghana has met in Kumasi to deliberate on challenges of financial sustainability of member hospitals and training institutions. The meeting sought to explore innovative ways to provide funding and also fulfill the association's mandate of developing and consolidating sustainable quality Christian health services. Survivors of the recent boat disaster on the Volta Lake say they have not received any form of compensation from government. They explained that the disaster has... Thank you so much for watching. Good evening.